can't tell you is that the economic consequences or even various political consequences would necessarily be better if Catalonia had greater autonomy. Ultimately, it comes down to values. It also comes down to a perception for yourselves about how much risk you want to take in changing things. If a system is working well, there's a weaker argument for experimenting and moving in a very different direction. But if things are perceived to be going badly, then there's greater incentive to experiment.
Sure, so I think there are lots of specific benefits associated with decentralization. Probably the key one that's been focused on in research involves diversity. So if a country is very diverse in either language or in preferences for different types of services that want to be provided, which I think is relevant in Spain where there's different languages, for example, then there can be a lot of benefits from decentralization because you can have different regions providing different types of public goods.
And I think that there's a couple of key points, but the main one really is that decentralization in a country that is complex and multicultural in particular allows the citizens of different regions to get what they want from government. So that if people in one area want a particular kind of government or a particular kind of services, a decentralized government is much better at giving them what they want. Now, the evidence goes beyond this. Some of the evidence suggests, for example, that more decentralized countries grow faster. It may be that in a decentralized country, the local governments are better at designing systems that allow investment to rise quickly and that allow public revenues to be mobilized to be put into infrastructure expenditures. That's one possibility. But I think the main thing is people like government better when it's close to them and when it gives them what they want. Decentralization helps out a lot.
Well, obviously I don't know the specifics. I understand that Catalonia is a relatively rich region within Spain, and so it's natural that the poor regions would dislike the idea of having to give up the revenues that come from a rich part of the country. But really, it's a political decision for you to make together with the other regions of Spain. And what I can't tell you is that anyone can predict exactly whether it would be better or worse on various criteria. It simply comes down to values, given the fact that our knowledge is so limited of what the concrete consequences would be.
If you want to have more redistribution from rich to poor, then you need to have more centralization. But then, of course, there's a cost to that, which is the one that you alluded to, which is that you can get some regions which pay a lot more in taxes to the center than they get back in spending. And in some ways that creates its own inequities. And that can also be exacerbated by politics. Again, if you have poor regions that are either overrepresented or have specific, politically powerful politicians in the center government.
My sense is that there are really two issues at stake here in Spain and in Catalonia. First is how much power should be decentralized to the state government. And the second is because there are income differences and tax capacity differences between Catalonia and the rest of the country, how will these changes affect the distribution of grants and of revenues? And what I'd like to suggest is that those two things have to be thought about differently. That we might wish to make some decisions, as we've done in Canada, to give more power over revenues and expenditures to the state governments. But when we do that, we can do it in a way which is horizontally equitable. So there are a lot of benefits to decentralization. We should look for ways to make sure that the political fight over it does not block a sensible reform that can allow government to be better for people.